There are also external factors at play here that neither candidate can control. I would divide these into two camps. There are fiscal factors that are external. They can't really control on their own. The first is the fiscal situation and the deficit. That depends a lot on the economy and what's happening in the economy over the next months and years. It depends on what happens to tax rates and things like Social Security spending, Medicare, Medicaid, healthcare reform. It depends what Congress does on these big issues. If tax cuts get extended, that puts more pressure on the defense budget. If the economy grows more slowly, that puts more pressure on the defense budget. If healthcare reform does not, in fact, bring down healthcare costs, that puts more pressure on the defense budget. Now, also a factor is what Congress is willing to appropriate for defense. And that's important because in the past 2 years, in the 2011 budget and the 2012 budget, Congress cut more than $20 billion from what Obama requested for defense. So Congress has been in the mood of cutting the defense budget lower than what the administration and the Pentagon have requested for the past 2 years. The high point in defense spending was in 2010, and that's when you had Obama in the White House and you had Democrats in control of both the House and the Senate. So it's not what people think in a lot of cases when it comes to defense spending and who's doing the cutting. The other fiscal factor here to look at is growth in personnel costs, military personnel costs within the defense budget. It's already a third of the defense budget. The Obama administration put forward some proposals that aren't popular in Congress to rein in the growth of military personnel costs. Those are basically dead on arrival right now. If they don't get those changes, then personnel costs are going to continue to eat up more and more of the budget, and that reduces your purchasing power for things like modernization programs. Also, readiness and training costs. We spend about $125 billion a year on peacetime readiness and training of our military. One of the priorities in the new strategic guidance put out by the Pentagon was to preserve readiness, to keep our forces at their top level of readiness. That's expensive, and it's not clear if they'll actually be able to continue to do that in the future, especially as these readiness costs continue to grow when you look at it in terms of the cost per flying hour, cost per tank mile, cost per steaming day for ships. They're all growing, and it's not clear that we'll be able to maintain that in the future.